Alright, how's it going everyone? I wanted to follow up with a video for our class today. There was a little bit of confusion because, well, the other professors and I messed up this assignment and now we're going to try and get back on track. So before I launch into this Illustrator demo right here, I'm going to send you guys the new assignment sheet. We didn't know that you guys did not have access to the laser cutters yet. So to avoid that mess, we're going to change the project a little bit and have you guys probably do these by hand. It also sounds like like you guys aren't allowed to use the laser cutters for the mask project. So we're just gonna have to pivot and make do from our understanding with Studio. So we'll still have you guys do the Illustrator portion. This will be good to get you guys used to some of these tools. And this demo right here is just going to be a little bit more concise of what we went over in class today. Without me just stumbling through stuff. So to get started, some of the tools that I wanted to show, a lot of you guys are going to be using a trackpad, which is okay for Illustrator, but once we move to CAD, you're going to absolutely have to use a mouse. So I use a mouse here, and just as far as navigation goes, typically how I navigate is holding down the space bar will give you this hand tool where you can click and drag around. And then holding Alt or Option on your keyboard and then scrolling will let you zoom in and out. So that's with a mouse. It allows you to like really quickly navigate through your file and look at stuff. So I highly recommend using this workflow to navigate through your file, especially when you're in like hour 4 of Illustrator. You're going to be really sick of using a trackpad. So get a mouse and use these tools to navigate through your file. And now that we have that set up, I'm going to go ahead and set up my layers. Excuse me. We went over this earlier, so I'm going to set up a couple of layers first. I'm going to have an edge layer, cut layer. I have a layer for, let's see, like a work layer. That's just, I'm going to have all my file stuff on here. I'm going to lock these for now. Let's see, I think I'm missing something else. Cut, score, etch, working, reference layer. That's what I'm looking for. Gotcha. So that's where my reference is going to be. Alright, so I'm going to bring in my reference, file, place. Let's see, my desktop's a little unorganized. So I'm going to use this. And again, I just kind of drew on this sheet of paper. It's going to allow me to trace with the pen tool. So I'm going to place it, let's say, somewhere near the middle here. Centered. And I'm going to go ahead and lock this layer so I'm not moving that around. So next step, I'm going to go ahead and create a square. I'm going to go on my work layer, type this in, 12 and 12. That's going to be the size of our study. I'm going to get rid of the fill and then kind of move this into place. Feel free to organize your file however you want. It's entirely up to you. So I'm going to make this a little bit larger to get that overlap on here. Do I like that? Get a hair smaller. I think I'm just going to be losing a couple of things. So let's go ahead and lock that. So now I have this is going to be my cut layer right here. I'm going to go ahead and lock this. So I now have this in place. Alright, and then I'm going to move to the pen tool. So we went over this earlier. There's a couple of other things that I just wanted to show you guys after class when we got a little bit disorganized that I walked through with some people. So this is as simple as clicking point to point in order to create straight lines. Creating curved lines lets you click and drag, gives you these anchor points. So I can do curves. If I click again, it's going to allow me to create a straight point. And if I, let's say on accident, create a curved point like this, and I let go and I want to go back to create a straight line, if I hold down Alt right now or the Option key on an Apple keyboard, I can click on this handle, snap it back into place, and then go back about my business. So I can like really quickly create geometry here with the pen tool. It's just a little bit like drawing, and allows me to like do really custom stuff. So yeah, that's essentially the pen tool right there. Those are really the only functions like going into it, other than like adding and subtracting points. So I'm going to select this here to show you guys. I'm going to use P, which is the shortcut for pen tool. If I hover over my line here, you'll see this plus that allows me to select create control points. And if I hover over another one, it gives you the minus, which will take them away. So really powerful for like going in, and let's say like my curve isn't quite right and I need another control point in order to like tweak it in the right direction. I can just, oh, it didn't add that. I can add that and then like tweak to my heart's desire. So super useful for being able to add stuff. If I, let's see, I can still do the option key when I already have a closed path, except maybe it gets rid of that, so ignore me on that. Let's see, what else is there? We went over the selection tools earlier as well, where with this general selection tool, the shortcut is V. I can select my object and move it around. If I want to select individual geometry within this, I can hit A for the direct select tool, which allows me to select points or segments and move those around. So another way to manipulate your geometry. Let's see, if I'm trying to think. There's some like minor functions within the pen tool and the direct select geometry that I like can't quite remember. Oh, here's a good one. If I have the pen tool selected, if I select my path, and I have the pen tool selected, it's going to highlight all my control points. If I hit Alt, it'll allow me to click. That's not a good example. If I click this, if I hold down Alt or the Option key and I click on a control point, it will let me like free flow and break this tangency of those handles. So if you ever need to like break that tangency for whatever reason on like a continuous path, you can hold down Alt with the pen tool selected, and it gives you this like special like control point handle tool that you can use to manipulate stuff. But that covers actually 95% of the tools needed to use the pen tool with. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my reference. I'm actually just going to start within my boundaries here. Ooh. So I'm going to create my first point. And like I said in class, typically I place my control points where there's a point of inflection. So there's one like about here that I'm going to just click and drag out. There's one definitely right here-ish. And then I'm just going to end my path like here. So I'm not going for anything like hyper close to what I sketched out, just because I'm not really doing any explorations. I'm just showing you guys how to do this. So I'm going to keep flushing this out. Finish this. And these don't need to be closed paths for the laser cutter. They're going to read them nice and easy. And let's see, gotta go like one like here. I know that's going to be super off because of my handle. So I'm going to drag this in. Get that nice and tight. Okay, so that like basically like kind of covers like doing this right here. So once I have this done, I know I'm gonna want to etch these. So I'm gonna go ahead, select and move them down to this layer and then lock it. So now everything is locked. So if I unlock this cut layer and move this around, that's just my bounding box. That's what the laser cutter is gonna cut. If I unlock this and I select these objects right here, or just a single one, that's what the laser cutter is going to etch. So yeah, that basically covers our pen tool and like creating this geometry. Really quick, another thing I want to go over just really briefly, which we did in class, is the pathfinder tool. So I'm going to collapse this for a second and open my pathfinder tool. You can find it under Window, Pathfinder right here. So I'm going to draw just like two boxes right here and overlap them to kind of show you what this does. I'm going to select both of these objects. So when I click any of these buttons, it's going to do a specific function that they do have names. So this one's divide, this one is unite. If I click unite, it's just going to combine these two objects into its own shape. If I click this, it may not look like anything immediately happened, but if I ungroup it, these are all individual pieces now. So using these operations makes it really easy to create like quick custom geometry based off of the primitives that we have access to. You can also create pen tooled shapes and use kind of the same premise to create stuff with. So I tend to use a lot of pathfinder tools. Not as much the pen tool, but they're definitely super useful in conjunction with each other to do like super geometric stuff and more organic stuff with the pen tool, and like combining those two elements to like get the objects that you need. So I'm not gonna go. We went over a lot more in class. I'm going to kind of leave that alone for now, just to avoid any information overload, and let you guys kind of figure out Illustrator, and we'll hit it in class when you get back. But yeah, look at the project sheet on the email I'm about to send you guys, and we'll adapt to the challenges we've been thrown at us. So thanks for watching.